Good evening and welcome to our cast between the V-Catgirls and the King Court Knights. I am Red Sniper 23, and joining me is Mr. Jeering Lamb himself. Good evening, Jeering. How you doing?
I'm doing fan-frickin-tastic. Thank you for the beautiful introduction, as ever, Red. I'm really excited for this match. This is going to be a really good set.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to some good things. I got high expectations out of the King's Court Knights. I'm expecting them to do quite well. My team ended up playing them in week number one, but still had a very, very difficult matchup last week. And even now, going up against the V Cat Girls, um, maybe not the easiest lineup to kind of guess what's going to happen. We've seen Uncle Fable before. Sirionicus, also a very good solo player in his own right. I think they could give the King's Court Knights some trouble tonight. That being said, let's get into picks and bans. And it looks like we've already got the Odin and the Ardeo taken off the table, as well as Geb, as we kind of catch up here, as we were not exactly notified when this was going to, to start. And they kind of said, okay, well, we're going. So we're kind of catching up here. So give us a couple of seconds. We're going to work on this. But as you can see, that Tiamat also taken off the table.
Might also want to go ahead and switch the King's Knights to the left-hand side, since they are, in fact, the first pick of this. But other than that, we do see Erlang Shen being banned out from the King's Knights, since consistently Allegory has performed extremely well on that. He
Mm-hmm.
got it once a while back, 2 weeks ago, and he was 11-0 almost immediately with it. He definitely favors the Erlang Shen, and Ravana being the other ban, definitely a safe ban. Ravana is pretty performing jungle right now, super consistent, super safe. Nothing wrong with that.
Yep. Oh, yeah. And again, looking, we've got the Ravana taken away, the Erlang taken away. Looking for some of the comfort picks maybe out of the Knights, and especially now
None will
with
flee my grasp.
the new patch, you never know how teams are going to react to that. I mean, before before the season, we had bow builds with Izanami, and we saw Artemis every so often, and Rama was being played quite regularly. And
Now is
now
the
they've
time.
kind of fallen by the wayside. 80s have now switched into a crusher. Solos are getting a little bit more of a hybrid build, a little bit more damage, as well as some that just goes straight
You
tank.
shall
So
not
you never
pass!
quite know what you're going to get out of it,
Immortals, that is.
but it looks like we're going to get the Persephone, the Nike, and the Giannis taken right away. So Persephone, a very,
A
very strong
whirling
pick right
pool
now,
of
especially in that mid
biting
lane.
teeth.
And here comes the Charybdis, speaking of a strong pick, as the ADC for the Knights is picked up in the second slot.
I don't know. I've been seeing a lot of Charybdis mid. I don't think it's too late here, Red.
Maybe not, but
Greetings, friend.
I've seen a lot of Charybdis ADC, and she is very strong right now. Very, very strong. Um,
That she
she's
is.
been able, especially this recent patch
Death
with buff
comes
to
one
her
night.
her third auto, which is broken into three knives. Instead of a third, a third, a third, it is now 40% per knife, and uh her um autos with her one, instead of being a 60% scaling up, it's now 80% scaling up. So she has got quite a significant buff, and it is excellent to see that the Charybdis is coming out, and it looks like it's going to be a Jablonke against her in that duo lane. Um, so maybe you can give a little insight here. Jablonke with a Giannis and Nike already for the Catgirls. What do you think that they're trying to do in this game?
So far, they've got very consistent picks that overall just aren't bad in any way in their respective lanes. Giannis
The
is that
moon will
super safe,
purify
and
this
Fable
land.
always falls back to it. If
You
nothing
are
else, he can always
finished.
pull out a Giannis and do just fine. Nike being one of the top solos right now, if we're not talking Guardians, probably the top, unless you're counting Odin, but with how often he gets banned, I'm not sure too many people will.
I will leave
The
standing no
X-Bow is
barrier
a
to
little bit
our
different. You don't see it
success.
quite as often, but I'm certainly excited to see how it's going to turn out as we go into the final stages. We see the Thanatos and Susanoo banned, as well as the Ares and Camazotz.
So the execute taken off the table for the V-Catgirls. The Achilles picked up by the Knights to kind of make sure that the Kepri is not going to get executed. Um, it is extremely interesting to see that the Tsukiyomi is picked up with a Ganesh. Again, the Dharmic pillar is going to be there to try and keep the team fight close together, and yet at the same time, that Tsukiyomi ult can come in and just blow up multiple people. So, going to be able to maneuver well, going to be able to pounce on them well, and to use that Ganesh ultimate to kind of sort of corral everybody. You never quite know what's going to happen. But I really like the V-Catgirls team comp. The Knights seems to be more of like a pick comp. You know, you got a Loki, you got a Kepri. Charybdis is great single target damage. Achilles has the execute. Um, well, it's a good pick comp, but I don't know how it's going to work in a team fight. I think the V Girls might have, if this game goes later, might have a little edge in that team fight.
The Knights certainly do have a team that excels at getting that pressure and diving in on their foes, which I think is perfectly fine. That's where they have excelled in the past couple of weeks. I just played against them myself very recently, and that is absolutely where they shined. They were extremely aggressive. They played to what they knew. They were able to just jump in, get the picks, and that's all they needed. So I think the Knights are perfectly safe running the same team comp. It's worked for them before. Why change it now? They've
It's
got
true.
great engage, but the Catgirls, their team fight is going to be a little bit more potent, combining that Shibalonke and Ganesha ult, dropping that darkness right on top of the Dharmic pillars. You can really throw them off. They might mistakenly walk right into that line and take huge amounts of damage for it. The counter engage from the Catgirls is very real, and they definitely do have a little bit more objective secure, whereas the Knights can definitely CC and pick you out, but they don't have that high burst damage just to make sure they get it.
All right, we had a bit of a pause here in game one, trying to get uh, everybody in game. There was a little bit of an issue getting reverb into the game, but looks like everybody's connected. We're all ready to go, and now here we are for game number one between the King's Knights and V Catgirls. Again, I'm Red Sniper 23. Joining is Jeering Lamb on commentary, and we are getting ready for this great amateurs matchup in the QSL. Got a few seconds before we start here. Jeering, we talked a little bit about the pick comp, how things kind of could maneuver in the King's Knights' favor, but also how the V-Catgirls have more sustained damage and team fighting. Just straight up, who do you like in this matchup?
Overall, I think I'm going to have to give it out to the King's Knights here. They are playing exactly where they are comfortable. The VCAT girls are definitely going to be in for a little bit of trouble on their end. They're definitely going to have to be a little bit more careful with how they decide to be playing this game, because one false move could result in a massive snowball for the Kings and Knights. And gotta say, that is exactly what I have seen more than once.
Yeah, and you never want to see a Loki, an Achilles, or a Charybdis up on levels on you because it is just going to be so difficult to come back from that. So as we see the teams kind of go through their opening clears, maneuvering a little bit, uh, looks like the early pressure is going to go to the King's Knight in mid and over in ADC, but it looks like maybe they're going to get caught out here as Kepri's going to get knocked up. Some Ganesh damage. Good Jablonke damage with the follow-up there. Now Kepri's got to play a little bit safe. We've seen this more often in this patch with the death toll being utilized by both ACs, but the early pressure doesn't always mean you're going to get both Chad Harpies and then pressure in lane with the wave coming. Um, it seems to be a little bit more even now, where you never know how everything's balance out.
Most certainly. The branching bull is from that Expo did a lot of damage onto the support Kepri, and he had to play a little bit safe, but now that he's gotten a little bit of time to let his prots and pots come into play, he's a little bit more healthy and they can afford to take a little bit more engagements now. but they definitely aren't in the clear. And speed of not in the clear, we see a lot of damage onto the Nike in the soul lane as well, as we see a chase going on in the jungle with a Loki trying to invade the back camps.
Yeah, and Loki does a good amount of early game damage. Can really get those picks early, and that's kind of where Loki has to thrive. If he doesn't get the picks early, it's going to be difficult for him to catch up. And he ends up just taking more of that FP away from either the soul laner or the mid because he's trying to make himself relevant in this game. So we'll see if they get the picks. It looks like they're going to invade the blue buff, and the V-Catgirls are going to invade red here. Persephone's going to challenge. In fact, everybody is going to challenge the left-hand side. Giannis is going to portal to get out. Tsukiyomi tries to get away. And it looks like Persephone's not going to have damage, so even though low on mana, Tsukiyomi does survive, and Giannis uses that unstable vortex to help clear wave in mid, but Loki's kind of just sitting here and back. We'll see if he has ideas for this Nike, or if he's just gonna kind of maneuver around and just pick up camps. It looks like he's going for the camps over on the right mids. They've been pinged out. Tsukiyomi goes back and clears up his, but this duo wave here, good stun by the Khepri, good pressure by the King's Knights, and it looks like they're going to get a little bit of advantage going into the next wave. Still very early in this game, 3 minutes in, and not a ton of really gold or XP separating these two teams out. No picks yet either, which has kind of been the calling card for the King's Knights. They've had some very good early picks, and it just doesn't seem to be there yet in this one. Is that more because of a lack of aggressiveness for the King's Knights, or is this just the Catgirls being extremely either conservative or even just running a tight ship and not really being caught out there?
I'm willing to bet that it's just the Catgirls having great awareness, as we see a huge gank coming out into the dual lane. Tsukiyomi showing up to try and help, as Loki is now ulting in. That Assassinate catching a triple stun, as we see the entire Catgirls dual lane and jungle getting caught out in a bad situation. We see the Maw coming out from Charybdis, catching Ganesh off guard. We see Aegis being popped by Loki as well. Through space and time comes through from the Giannis, trying to support his team. And all of the Catgirls are able to escape with their lives. But now, the counter engage is coming out. Charybdis is getting rather low. Khepri is also under half HP. And Loki is already quarter. They're going to have to back off from this one. V-Catgirls getting caught out a little bit early. Expo is still being full HP. And it will be Uncle Fable who picks up the Loki in the jungle.
So the Giannis using that through space and time, managing to get around, and he can look for the red buff now. But there is a Persephone there, and it looks like the Giannis picked up the red buff on that one. Pressure going into the Persephone, but nothing going to follow from there. A good pick by the Catgirls, but that does not translate into much. There was a good invade, a good pick up of the red buff. That is going to hurt Persephone in the long run. She does do some good burst damage, but it's going to take her a while to clear those minions now. So getting that small advantage this early, looking for something a little bit more, but I want to bring up the play over in the dual lane. That good gank that came through, and the Ganesh was so low and still managed to get out of there. Good dash away, managed to break up that team fight. The peel offered also from the damage of the X-Ball, and even the Suki kind of being that sort of go-between. Now, when the Loki did try to rotate back into the jungle, was picked up by the Venus on the backside, but it really was kind of this broken team fight. There was a gank, a counter gank, and then nothing really happened after that. But the persistence of the Catgirls comes through with a kill, and now you see this Loki trying to fight to stay even, essentially, with this Tsukiyomi, and the Ganesh is already about a half level ahead of the Khepri. The Giannis is about a half level ahead of the Persephone, and now about a full level ahead of the Persephone. And already the Transcendence online for the Jablonke, and the Devo's gauntlets already online for the Charybdis. So power items coming out. We're getting into this good transitional middle game. Now on this right-hand side, here we go, as Loki's going to get caught out. The Omen coming out from Nash, and Uncle Fable's going to drop him. Reverb, go down. And here we are, the chase onto the Achilles. Can JKT get this one? He's going to have to blink to try and get out of this. A good unstable vortex drops him down to very low health, but no follow-up was the Persephone coming over to help secure. Maybe a little bit on the backside here, as we do see Giannis sticking his nose out, but looks like he's going to back away. The Capri going to chase down just to make sure everybody's out of the jungle, and everybody resets back to it. Again, a pick onto the Loki. The Loki's already hit 7. Died twice, but he's already hit 7.
In fact, he's already hit level 8, a full level above the Tsukiyomi. He's still only level 6. He is farming to the max, where unfortunately he's just gotten picked out a couple of times.
This is also an interesting one where the Tsukiyomi, actually, according to the gold per minute on the left-hand side there, is the lowest earner. He's actually below the supports right now. Is this a problem with Tsukiyomi? It kind of comes on late game and maybe early has a little bit of issues, as we see good pressure by the Jablonke. It does force Charybdis back, stunned by 3, but no follow-up damage. Good peel issued. But going back to it, is this an issue between the Loki and the Tsukiyomi, where the Suki's too late game, and maybe Loki can jump on that, or is the Loki going to fall off a little bit harder later on, even though he's doing really well farming now? Could that be a problem for him later?
My guess is it would have to be the Loki has died a couple of times, but he's been doing some extremely good farming, especially those harpies. He was able to steal those and even the yellow buff early on from the Tsukiyomi, and he's continued to invade blue buffs and camps left and right wherever he can. He's taking those triple and double harpies between yellow and blue buff are worth a lot of gold and XP, and he's dropping those as quickly as he can and even stealing Tsukiyomi's camps whenever it's possible, as we see him coming in for a gank and then ult right on top of the Giannis, who's going to have to pour his beads and his ult through space and time just to get out.
The Jablonke ult coming out, but that's going to be a good pressure onto Craig Afro, and that Charybdis is down. Achilles very, very low, gets the damage, and Cyrianicus is going to kill off JKT, and now the Catgirls extending their kill lead to 4-0 our score, but it does give them about a 26, almost 2,700 gold lead, and a little bit of an XP lead here. But we do see the flip side happening in the jungle, as Loki now hitting 10 first on his team to do so, and is able to pick up the totem of Ku on the right, and manages to get out without nary a problem. And that means that we're going to see, as the support is currently the same level as the Persephone, and our first 11 levels are coming out now. The Nike, the Giannis, and Jablonke already hitting 11 for the V-Catgirls.
The V-Catgirls have been getting a lot of extra picks, whereas the King's Knights have yet to get a single one so far. And we'll see how it goes later on, since having the Persephone, the Kepri, and the Achilles, their team fight can certainly sway in their favor very quickly, especially if they combine the ultimates. But right now, the Catgirls are getting a lead, and they're continuing to press it in any way that they can. They're going to continue rolling out all the damage that they can and keeping the lead that they have over the Knights.
We've got pings on objectives now. Both the Gold Fury and the Pyromancer are going to be pinged by respective teams. And it looks like the Achilles and the Loki going to show face over by the Pyromancer. They're going to start it up, but here comes Nike, going to get stunned away. Some good damage, some good push. Through space and time comes in, hits the Pyro, and that one's going to go for the V-Catgirls now. And the chase is on to the Achilles. Is he going to be able to get out of it? The Kepri getting owned away by the Ganesh. and looks like Achilles is going to get disarmed, but no serious problems. Kepri going to go through the portal. Come on back. He'll dash away. Dharmic Pillars come out. Nike jumps out top. He gets owned, goes through the portal, and that is one dead scarab. Tsukiyomi very, very low. He is going to manage to just barely get out with his life. And now the Persephone pushing up the mid-wave. We see the return by the Achilles. And Lil Nino's going to drop that Persephone. Didn't expect coming out of that right-hand side. Didn't really have a ward there to watch. A aggressive ward up on the top side. Did not have one underneath coming from behind, even though the team fight was in that side of the jungle. And he will get in mid, a 6-0 score. And that leaves the door open for the V-Catgirls start up Gold Fury.
And they're already on top of it right away. They recognize they have the kills, they have the pressure. We can go ahead and just drop this as soon as we can. And especially without the Pyromancer being on the map, they don't have to worry about that objective trade nearly as much, since the odds of the Knights pulling that Fire Giant are extremely low. As Nike does jump in to try and steal away that purple buff, will end up popping the Sentinel of Zeus to try and slow down Charybdis a little bit more, but she is able to escape with the Maw.
Some good plays either way coming out, but we start to see that XP and gold lead begin, and the snowball that we were worried about King's Knights looks like it may be coming out here for the V-Catgirls. You see about a 5.5K, almost 6K gold lead in favor of the V-Catgirls, but you've got a 2-level difference up in solo. You've got 3 in the mid, and still a level difference there. The Charybdis has been coming back on the Jablanc, but again, was about a 2 to 3 level lead. Now it's about 1.5. But it's still concerning when your ADC is down, your mid is down, and your solo is down. All of your damage dealers, aside from the Loki, is going to have some problem, as the King Knights will get the consolation, and the Charybdis will pick up Draugr on the left-hand side to help out with some defense. Again, extra procs for both magical and physical defense for the towers, as long as we have some defenders in their radius. But it looks like the Loki going to get pressured here as Ganesh gets chased. He's going to back away. And it looks like red buff going to be the next point of contestation, as Loki and Charybdis here, as well as Persephone. And it looks like the Kep shows phase 2. The through space and time will come out, secures no problems. And now the mid lane push going to begin, as the 5-man group comes from V-Catgirls. And looks like King's Knights are just going to walk away from that one. No contest, as they are still spread all over the map. And the snowball starting to begin for V-Catgirls, and they working their way over to that Scorpion on the solo side.
No, I think I figured something out, Red. Earlier, when I said I favor the King's Knights draft here a little bit more, I'm pretty sure Fable heard me, and he is now winning this game out of spite just because I said it.
Well, General Telly is doing the same, because Jablanque comes in, pops the ult, but didn't even need it for the Charybdis. The Loki does show face, and they managed to get the Scorpion on the duo side of the map. But that is still a very, very disappointing solo kill, as Craig Afro goes down to General Telia, the Jablanque, just punishing the lower level Charybdis at this point. As Beads coming out, the Achilles will get the stun onto the Ganesh. The Kepri, beautifully done. But again, looking at this, 7 kills down the King's Knights. Approximately 6K, just under 6K gold down. And at this point, about a 6K XP difference as well. If you're, a 9K XP difference. So if you're, I'm going to put you in the King's Knights coach's seat here. You're looking at your team, you're seeing what they're good at. At this point, do you kind of say, okay, we're going to have to try and pick some kind of objective and either get a pick or fight around it? Or are you looking for maybe a push somewhere? If you're the King's Knights, how do you get back in this one?
It's definitely going to be a difficult climb considering the lead that the V-Catgirls have basically confirmed for themselves now. Being able to fight around those objectives is not quite in their favor anymore, given how powerful of a team fight the Catgirls have now. Their lead is definitely not to be trifled with. So if anything, they might try and steal an objective, but fighting for it outright may be a little bit more difficult. At this point, it's going to be a little bit more of a farm up, we got this late game type of situation, where as the Catgirls are now starting to pull the Fire Giant, trying to bait out the fight from the King's Knights, they can't just walk at it and try and contest, especially seeing Charybdis is still not left lane, pushing up that tower. She's going to have to back, but the collapse is going to be on Reverb, on that Loki, trying to push up the lane just a little bit. They're going to be jumping in. He's going to be forced to pop Assassinate, but it'll be right into the arms of the waiting Nike, dropping in that disarm on top of him, dropping the shield as well as we see Yumi going in for a little bit of damage on the
And
Achilles.
notice that, before we were talking about the big lead that Loki had, a level going into 2 and perhaps even more. Now that's practically, even as Tsukiyomi pops that piercing moon coming through, Persephone going to drop her ult too. The King Kreb is going to find the back of a Brave, and now here comes the Dharmic Pillars. Suryana is going to go down, Little Nino going to go down, the Charybdis, Pregafro also going to go down. So that is a big team fight win for the Catgirls. That is 3-1, as the only survivors are the Loki and the Achilles. And looks like they're going to go straight for the Oni Fury, making sure that the Oni minions coming out in their favor and pressure across the map. That will open the door then for them looking towards Fire Giant at only 19 minutes in. It's not so far far field for them to pick up a Fire Giant before 2 minutes.
I don't know if I would say before 20 minutes, considering it's going to take them almost that long to hit that 20-minute mark to go ahead, gather the camps that they're looking for, get the wards, bring them in, and then walk themselves all the way over to the Fire Giant pit. By the time they get there, it's going to be 20 minutes.
Yeah,
I
and
mean,
even then,
they still have the pressure to do it, but
yeah, but it's not going to happen now. First of all, they're spread over the map, and second of all of that pressure they did gain by having the Oni minions, that advantage is almost gone already. The Oni wave has already been cleaned up in the mid lane. It is pressuring left. Charybdis is down there as the Loki and the Nike going to fight off in the middle. Sir Yannicka's dropped the ult, but it's not going to matter as the execute comes. And JKT going to drop that Nike. No victory for you this time. You're going to have to try again.
the Sentinel of Zeus was not enough. It's only a health shield, unfortunately, so Sir Lankius is not going to be able to tank that execute since he was still below the threshold. And now the Catgirls are going to have a little bit more difficult time trying to pull this Fire Giant since they don't have their solo to create a lot of space for them.
They will start it up, however, already down to about half health. Here comes the Kepri onto the Tsukiyomi. They will fight it down, and Nam goes down. Goodbye to the Super. Catgirls have destroyed the Fire Giant through space and time, coming out, as does Dharmic Pillars. The Maw coming through. That is going to be some damage by the Charybdis. Loki going to go onto the Gannett. Some backstabs happening there, but the Loki will fall. Here comes the Jablanque with the kill onto the Capri. He is just pumping out the damage at this point. Achilles dives in, offers the Peel General Tell with the triple. Here we go. He's going to tell you so. As Charybdis going to be the next. He's got a Quadra. You better let him get that Persephone. Don't you dare steal it from him, Giannis. As here we go, the portal coming through the unstable vortex. Here comes the damage. Can he get the Penta? The Ohm coming through, and there it is, the delayed pentakill. Not quite enough to get it recognized in game, but the chase down does get almost aside as King Kreb is up. But not much a Khepri can do when he's just sitting there in Fountain by himself, and all your damage dealers are still dealing with some gray screen.
See, if your general tell you, that's both really exciting and really depressing. You managed to get the Penta, but it was delayed enough that it wasn't the official true Penta.
Yep, as Aegis coming out from the Loki through space and time, going to be the portal going to be used to get the Ganesha out of trouble, and just enough to get the fix down in right. And now the Cat Girl looking at it, 15-3 our score, 22 and a half minutes, and Tier 2 in mid now is dropped. Tsukiyomi does issue some pressure. The Jablonke ult does come out as darkness will fall, but look like the next thing to fall will be Pyromancer in favor of Catgirls. This one is looking more and more bleak as a 12k, almost 13k now gold difference for the V-Catgirls. And the King's Nuts, you got to look at it going, okay, guys, are we, we can try, we can push, we can look for something, but maybe at this point we're looking toward game two.
I mean, if you're the Cat Girls at this point, you probably are looking towards the game number 2 at this point. You're up 3 to 15 on the kills. It's 23 minutes in. You have basically a 13k gold lead. It's just in their favor right now. And especially with 16k experience lead, the VCAT girls have found themselves settling into quite a comfortable snowball lead that we were talking about earlier. Normally we saw the Knights doing it, but now they don't have it, and they are in an uncomfortable position as now the Cat girls are starting up the siege for the duo side Phoenix. They've already taken out
And
the
it is
solo side, and their
already down
progression
to
it is
half
falling
health.
fast.
Yep, already gone the 4v3. Not even a 4v4, a 4v3. They had more people there. The Charybdis was there, the Capri's there, but that Unstable Vortex and Jablonke just doing work. So much attack speed, so much damage coming out. That whole procking, everything going into it. And now, here we go, the fight in the Titan room. Jablonke keeping himself alive. The Dharmic Pillars does through. There's going to be the bounce, the piercing moonlight by the Tsukiyomi, and that is going to be all she wrote for game number 1. Victory for the V-Catgirls.
Definitely an explosive start for the Cat Girls. They came out to make a statement, and I think a statement has been made. They showed the King's Knights, who have been pretty dominant so far in this season, even though it's only week 3, but they came out with a roar of defiance. They came to make their name.
I mean, to be honest, that is an absolutely phenomenal performance by the V-Catgirls. And just pointing out, Uncle Fable 5-0-6 and General Telia 8-0-2 on that Jablonke with 21k player damage, more than doubling anybody on the side of the King's Knights. Just an amazing, amazing game by the V-Catgirls there. So we've seen the highlights, we've seen some of the lowlights. If you're the King's Knights, how do you come back from this? The V-Catgirls, maybe you run it back, maybe you want to, you know, show a couple of different sides to what your gameplay is, but um, if you are in the King's Knights right now, you got a couple minutes between games. What do you say?
At that point, you got to sit down and you got to say, that was a rough start. That's not how we wanted things to go, but we're better than this. We know we can do it. Got to keep a little bit of optimism here. They did play their hearts out. They were playing really well. They were just caught in an uncomfortable situation. That pressure that they normally have was given to the other team in this situation. They just got to bring it right back, get down a little bit more comfortable, and just play the game the way that they know they can. That's all they got to do. If they can regain some of that early pressure that they lost so heavily early on, I'm pretty confident that they could easily swing it back in their favor during game number 2.
Yep. And again, we will take a short break here. We'll have a little intermission and we will see you guys back for game number 2. Again, game 1 goes to the V-Catgirls in this best of 3 series for the QSL Amateurs week number 3. And welcome back for game number 2 in the QSL Amateur Division. The V-Catgirls versus the Kings Court Knights. V-Catgirls taking game number 1 on a commanding performance by General Telia and Uncle Fable. I am Red Sniper 23. Joining me is the jeering lamb himself. Put that tongue back, young sir. Anyway, how are you doing tonight, jeering?
It's wonderful. It's Quake and Smite night. Can't go wrong with that, can we?
Definitely cannot. We are looking at some pretty repeat bands here, but the first respect band does come out. That Nike taken off the table.
The Nike was definitely not the most fun to play against. Absolutely ran at them, made their lives a lot more difficult. But the one thing I'm seeing that I'm not too big a fan of is we see that Erling Shen band again.
Yeah,
Personally,
and
I think they could have either looked to pick it up or given it to them and shown them exactly who they're dealing with. I mean, we just saw the Catgirls run away with game number 1. I think they were trying to make an even bigger statement.
I mean, it definitely could be. They could be trying to run this back. It's the exact same 3 bands
None
as
will
last time,
free
and
my grasp.
frankly, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. As it looks like Persephone gonna come out once again, but this time on the side of V Catgirls, and Soul gonna be picked up for the King's Courts King's Court Knights. So Soul there could be a flex pick, could go ADC, could go mid. Although generally we see her more in the ADC role, and it looks like that's going to be confirmed as a Giannis to get picked up this time on the King's Court Knights. So the mid laners have swapped sides now.
It looks like they have indeed. We do see that Persephone picked up just on the Catgirls side this time. Looks like Uncle Fable wants to show them how Persephone is played, it seems. In general, tell your running back that Xbalanque, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
No, the 21.5k damage that he did last game says that he feels very comfortable on that Xbalanque. Achilles is now going to go over to the V-Catgirls, so the Nike band away doesn't matter. Gonna get the execute with the Achilles, which is gonna prevent that Kepri from showing his ugly face on the King's Knights side of the equation. But you still see a Persephone kind of anything you can do, I can do better, maybe mentality. As we see a new jungler, the Susano, gonna get picked up here for the King's Court Knights.
I'm interested to see how Susano is going to end up turning out. It's one of those gods that if he can get a lead, he can absolutely run away with the game and single-handedly make you wish you uninstalled. Or if he falls behind, he kind of just he just runs around blowing wind at you. Got a little bubble gun kind of floating past. So we'll have to see how is that going to end up turning out. We've seen in the past, Allegory is certainly no jungle to laugh at. And especially in the last game when his team was down in XP almost across the board, he was the one person with a lead. So I'm very interested to see just how well he's going to perform on the Susanoo.
Not only that, but if you look at the lineup of the King Court Knights, we see a huge shift in team comp. That's not a pick comp there. That is not an individual at all. That is a straight up team fighting comp. The giant silence from the chalk, the Ares, which can burn. You have the Susano there that can throw people around. Giannis will get you here, there, and everywhere. And Soul, as long as you build her with the ADC build, she will throw hands effectively. So the King's Knights going more into a team fight build now, but the V-Catgirls still has all of that beautiful damage, and it's kind of game one revisit. As it looks like we are ready, and we are going to go into game number 2 between the V-Catgirls and the King's Knights. Again, I'm Red Stamper 23, and joining is Jeering Lamb as we get into this one. V-Catgirls up 1-0 in our best 3 matchup in the QSL Amateur Division. What you looking for on this one, Jeering? How do you think it's going to play out?
Given the picks that we see the V-Catgirls sitting on, I think we just might see a little bit of a repeat from the last game. They are more than comfortable. They're definitely feeling the flow tonight. They are on top of their game, and now their team fight is even more potent. They've got a lot of synergy already, and they displayed quite a hefty amount of just comfort with each other in the last game. I see no reason why it shouldn't happen yet again.
Yeah, and to be completely honest, looking at the way it's set up, I mean, individually, the V-Catgirls were not the strongest. They didn't come out sort of with hands swinging. They were kind of on the back foot, at least for a little bit. But once the team fight started, the rotations came out. They made some good early rotations. It sort of started that snowball that maybe we were thinking the King's Knights would have. But instead, they're going for the V-Catgirls. We'll see if that snowball comes back. I do see some damage coming out in the mid, and Susano going to deal some effective damage to the Achilles already. And that is going to be pressure on top of the Persephone now, as we're going to see if Giannis is going to have the problems that, or if Persephone is going to have the problems in the first game that she had in the sorry, if Persephone is going to have the problems in the second game that she had in the first, as we do see the first blood and the trade coming, as the first kill goes over to the Suno, but Persephone will pick up the response as both junglers do fall first for their respective teams.
And one thing I would like to note that could actually start swinging the Catgirls in favor a little bit early, that gives Persephone a lot of pressure onto those mid side harpies, and those are some of the most important camps in the game early on. Because if you can secure those over the other mid, that's going to be a very hefty lead that you can easily just run away with.
I mean, we saw last game, it was definitely the mid and the ADC, well, the mid and the solo that really started the problems. The ADC was able, with the team fighting, to really get on later in the game, but already we see Persephone with a bit of a lead and the Cerberus with a bit of the lead over the Chalk. So no kills, no excitement over in solo lane just yet, but as we see, the invade has not come out by the Susano, and so that farm is going to be split pretty evenly so far. As Achilles going to pick that up. No invade so far, 3 minutes in. And we have a very even game.
Without a doubt, the King's Knights realize last game was not their best showing, and they can play a lot better than that. And so far, they're making a decent showing of it. So a little bit of a high aggression in the mid lane to start it off, getting that 1-for-1 trade for the junglers. But they were able to pick up first blood this time, so that little bit of extra gold in their pocket may come in handy.
Oh, here we go. The gank over in solo as the Susano shows his face, but it's not going to amount to much as the Serb is just going to be able to leap back to his tower line and the disengage. No problems, no musts, no fuss, and on we go with farming. So real quick question for as we do have a gank over here, the area is going to get stopped, going to get pulled, going to get plucked, the beads come out, and it's going to be the execution through space and time coming over the man rotation. We do see Giannis over here in the face of the Achilles. He's going to have to portal away. The Persephone coming in, and that looks like a pause, question mark?
Sad. That was a very interesting little bit of delay, as we do see Giannis pulling out the beads to try and escape. Unfortunately, Soul won't be quite so fortunate, caught in the middle of 4 people, and will end up falling to Uncle Fable.
And that's the disapparate, but Uncle Fable already with a couple kills on the Persephone. That Persephone is going to get big quick if this continues. Maybe something that you'd like to comment on. We see Soul going for mannequins instead of something like a Death's Toll, or even, depending on how you play, or maybe, Sands of Time. But do you think mannequins is a really good pickup for her right now?
Early on, it's certainly going to give her that little bit of pressure, and considering that they have an Ares as the support, it will most certainly give them that little bit of extra wiggle room and early damage to clear those first couple waves in camps over the Expo to try and get whatever lead that they can before they have a chance to get online. But late game, I don't know if this is going to work out quite the way that they're hoping. So far, it looks to me as though the King's Knights have a lot of that early pressure built up. You know, having the Ares, the Soul, and the Chalk in the side lanes, they've got a lot of early pressure gods here. And it looks like they're going to try and go back to where they're comfortable, get that early lead, and just take it away.
Well, but we see them, however, having a problem with the early game, though, is now the engagement comes into the middle. Giannis and Ares going to get hit by the Kepri ball, but nothing really going to happen there. Persephone and Achilles, no follow-up damage, a disengage mid lane. Soul getting some pressure over on General Telia over on the left-hand side, but again, no kill pressure around. Interestingly enough, we see that Persephone fighting 2v1 is still quite effective here, as Giannis and the Ares gonna have to clear wave, and Susano is already here picking up some mid harpies as the fight over in Soul was getting a little bit more testy as we see Serb getting very, very low, and lineman Nelson over there, which, by the way, lineman Nelson was JK their sub last time, or is this a but this is their starter, correct?
Lineman Nelson is a sub. JK was actually their starter.
Wow, okay. So switching things up just a little bit here in game number two, but Lon Nelson seems to be doing quite a good job against Suryanis on this Cerberus. And looks like we are in a bit of a pause situation here. Just taking a look at things real quick as the game stands. The Serb is about a level to half a level up on the Chalk in solo. The Achilles up on the Susano, the Persephone above the Janus, and then the dual lanes are even with 6 levels apiece. We have about a 600 gold advantage for the V-Catgirls and 1100 XP in favor of the Catgirls as well. Um, Looking around at builds, we do see a couple items already finished. Where do you see maybe this one going? Interesting, a Bancroft's coming out for the soul. Definitely needs the lifesteal early, but um, we see Sundering Axe coming out for one and Shield coming out for the Chalk. Blackthorn also being finished for the Chalk. Um, is this potentially a issue that the Serb is going to have later on? That seems to be going for a little bit cheaper build. Um, or is this just, you know what, I be Serb, I'm going to be tanky. How's that going to work? Hearing.
So far, the Cerberus certainly isn't in a bad spot. He does have a little bit of an XP lead, and Axe is never necessarily a bad item. Some people would opt to go for a Vampiric Shroud instead, but obviously that Warrior's Axe is never necessarily a bad option. It did just receive a little bit of a buff, getting a little bit more offensive, and that's the playstyle of Cerberus that he loves. I don't think there's anything wrong with going that. Shot going with the classic sigil into the Blackthorn. That's pretty much what you see every warrior running nowadays, or at least most of them. And overall, it's just going to be really solid late game, getting a lot of mitigations for himself later on. It's going to be perfectly fine for him. Cerberus, on the other hand, is going to have to build a little bit more protections in his raw build, since the Warrior's X doesn't quite give so many for himself.
And it looks like we are back into the action game number two here between the V-Catgirls and the King's Knights. Catgirls took game number one on the back of their team fighting prowess. Again, a very early game build, a pick comp by King's Knights didn't quite work out the way they wanted to. Persephone gives the rotation over to Solo here. A little bit of pressure on the Chalk, but it looks like he gave better than he got. And pretty much going back to the farm, as General Talia getting some early pressure onto the Soul. And I don't know, as things kind of even out, as farming becomes of the game so far, um, do you see any problems maybe that could appear for the V-Catgirls? I know the King's Knight looking more for uh, a team fighting capability now. Last time they're looking more for that pick, trying to turn team fights from 5v5 to like a 5v4 or 5v3. That good burst damage on one or two potential targets. But now we see Persephone in a little bit of trouble, but Susano can connect with the rest of his dance. And so now Giannis going to be a little bit pressured. And this was something we didn't quite see in game number one. The Giannis really taking absolute problems from the Persephone. It was kind of the other way around. So, what do you think is going to happen? Susano is going to jump on Persephone. That's a big problem. The Capriol coming through and saving the life as Fable will survive the through space and time, also coming out to get the Susano out of dodge. But he's going to get caught by Suryanicus on the Cerberus. And now we got a fight happening down in the jungle over by the speed as they're going to have to out, and Susano way down, no mana, less than half health, and Serb going to just kind of eye out the chalk as the ultimate comes through from Jablanque. And he is under tower and kind of stuck. The soul, the kill is Kregafro. Get General Elia, who is under tower. The Ares pulling out the chains. Achilles a little bit of damage, but no kill pressure here in the mid. And everybody kind of backs away as we go into our farming state once again.
In this case, we see General Talia having a little bit more trouble against the Soul. That Mannequin's giving a lot better boxing potential is certainly coming into play, as we now see Persephone under the duo side T1 tower getting a little bit of trouble from the Susanoo, forced to pop that ultimate as well. And that's a lot of extra pressure for the King's Knights. They're doing much better this game, even getting the Gold Scorpion down in the first 10 minutes of this game.
Yeah, and I think that's probably the one issue that Fables had so far in this game. You can see in the gold he is definitely farming effectively. He is doing his job well, but the one thing that he has had problems with is hitting that ultimate. He's missed the Giannis a couple times. He missed the Soul that pastime, or the Susano, kind of split the uprights right between the two of them. But still has a little bit of effectiveness. Even if you miss the thorn cage, you still have uh, the the vine that come out that's slow. So potentially still being slightly effective, but maybe not effective as hitting the ultimate onto the enemy team. But we'll see how that's going to affect as our margin of error has gotten so much closer as the King's Knights now actually has the advantage. The ultimate going to have to come out from the Cerberus, but it's not going to mean much as here comes the Susano right back at the ultimate coming through. A Typhoon will hit good damage onto the Susano, but it's not going to be enough as Sarionicus going to drop the gank, be successful. And that means that it is now even 3-3 in the kill column, but that also means a 500 gold advantage for the Knights, their first of the match.
They're definitely feeling themselves a little bit more comfortable compared to the game number one. They are easily getting themselves back into the flow. They're where they're more comfortable now, having that pressure to where they can kind of walk into a lane and just take charge. Definitely putting themselves in a good situation where they can much more effectively play to their own play style. In previous games, they have been absolutely running at the other team and using whatever pressure that they had to continue getting those kills and then taking objectives and just snowballing their way to victory. The Catgirls took that driver's seat in the game number one, and I imagine the King's Knights aren't too happy as we see General Tully picking up a solo kill onto Craig Affer with a little bit of help from the Achilles Nom Noms, getting a little bit of good eaten on that fresh soul. Plenty of golden XP for him, as now the pings are coming out for the Gold Fury. The King's Knight's red buff is going to be spawning. They're going to have to be a little bit careful as they are in enemy territory, but they're going to have to use a lot of their extra pressure to help them out. Unfortunately, they aren't able to secure the buff, and the Giannis will end up getting that little Nino keeping his extra damage. But now the Gold Fury is being pulled by the Catgirls, but the presence from the King's Knight is going to force them to double think it. As the pressure is there, they're going to continue pulling it, and it's going to be a little bit of a dance as we see Susanoo trying to get a little bit close. Ares also trying to apply whatever pressure. As the Gold Fury is now quarter HP, they're going to have to make a decision. Darkest of Nights coming out from the Xbalanque, as well as Stygian Torment. We see the Execute coming out from Achilles, but not quite on the mark. Susanoo will live for the moment. He'll pop his ultimate as well as the Persephone. As we see Ares popping in, we see Scarab's Blessing saving Nom Noms getting out, as well as Soul just on the hair of their chinny chin. Cerberus getting very, very low, along with Reverb and Craig. They're going to have to back off, and it will be the V-Catgirls who come out on top with the Gold Fury and no kills exchanged in this particular fight. And that is definitely going to be a huge way for them to get themselves back into the driver's seat. As we see Fable dropping in a lot more pressure onto the Giannis, chasing him into the mid lane. He's forced to jump over the wall to try and escape from those plants chasing him down. But unfortunately, that 2-level lead for Fable is not going to feel too great for the Giannis. He's going to be able to continue applying that pressure. Chalk, on the other hand, sitting a good level above his opponent, Cyronikus, in the solo lane. He's going to be able to invade back camps and casually stroll away from the Cerberus and Khepri chasing him down to get him out of their territory. But for now, it's just going to be a little bit more farming. The Pyromancer and Fire Giant are available. The Fire Giant Scorpion has been dropped, and it's definitely going to be a little bit of a contest, as we do see Ares looking at Pyromancer trying to get some wards out, but the Catgirls are alerted to his presence and will deward him almost immediately. And now they know that it's on the clock for this next objective. They're going to go ahead and start pulling it immediately. It's already at half HP. We've got Cerberus trying to zone them out. Susanoo trying to wrap around the wall, but it will be Stygian Torment that comes out to force them away, and it will be the Catgirls who secure this Pyromancer. Chalk coming in from around the backside. Invincible Vortex dropping a lot of damage onto the Cerberus as he's trying to chase Darkest of Nights coming out, as well as a no escape from Ares, but it will be the Thunderstorm from Chalk who drops in a lot more damage for 70 dropping in. It will be King Kreb who ends up picking up Sarlonicus, as we see Achilles have to ult out. Namnam's extremely low on his own. The lowest on the King's Knights will be Lineman Nelson, as he's about quarter HP, and the chase is on now. Fable is going to be getting blinked at by the Susanoo, getting a huge engaged, getting out a lot of damage. He's going to pop the ultimate. So will the Khepri. Scarab's Blessing saving Fable's life once again, keeping him at that 2-0-0 state. Definitely a good feeling for the mid laner on the Catgirls. Big team fight though coming up from the King's Knights, as we see the aggression continuing. Expo doing a massive amount of damage onto the soul. It will be Craig Ever who has to run away. Khepri is now in place to try and continue this aggression, but the separate is such a hefty getaway, and it will be a Giannis Porto who secures his safety for now. But man, that was 2 or 3 autos and an almost dead soul. General Telia is really telling Soul who's boss. That was a very quick drop in the health bar. Even being a level down, he was still able to pump out all that damage. And he will certainly only get stronger as we see him starting up that tier 1 of Wind Demon. And Namnam's being 2 levels down on the jungle, as we see Persephone ult flying past in mid lane. I don't really see where anybody was, but he does still pick up reverb. Good kill from Uncle Fable. Not sure where the ultimate was going though. I'll have to rewatch it and see if there's somebody I missed in the mid lane. But that definitely threw me off a little bit, I'm gonna be honest. Unfortunately, there's not a Gold Fury for them to pull, so Catgirls are just gonna have to go and farm a little bit more. And it's gonna go right back to Farming Simulator for just a couple more minutes. We do see some pings coming out from the King's Knights. They're looking at whatever farm they can get. They don't want to fall behind at all. This is still a 400 gold lead for the Catgirls. Very, very close game number 2.
Yeah, and you can see as we're about 16 and a half minutes in, it's not like the Catgirls have this insurmountable lead. In fact, the XP difference is still in favor of the King's Knights. The Catgirls have barely a gold lead. And at this point, last game, the snowball was in full effect for the Catgirls. Now, there's no snowball to be had. There's one more tower down in favor of the King's Knights, but the objectives have kind of pretty even. The fights have been pretty even. We're gonna see how this plays out later on, but interestingly enough, we see the Catgirls still sort of grouping, but trying to get that farm. They don't want to lose out on the farm at this point because the levels are so tight right now. Pretty even in the duo lane. Again, Soul just ticking up to 17. Very even also in support, but again, slight advantage to the Ares. And here we go, the Achilles coming out, Soul having to go into the Disseparate. Jablanque throws out some of the Bolos, but is going to pop the ultimate as well. And now see the counter rotation happening. Achilles going to get hit by Ares chain, and he is very, very low, trying to get away, trying to get out of there, and he will still be chased as the Capri ult, Serap's Blessing, will come out, and that dissuades any pressuring by the King's Knights, and any pursuit now has fallen away as, yep, even Giannis backing away, more backing away. Chalk seems to be a little bit of a problem. He will try and dash over the wall. The Kepri trying to get their beads get popped by both. Here comes Ares' ultimate, and that's going to get beads from both the Persephone and the Kepri. So, or sorry,
And
Persephone,
Jablonk.
Kepri, and Jablonke. So 3 beads burned just on that one ultimate. And we see a lot of relics being used on both sides. And here is Primal Fury, the next objective to be contested. But it looks like maybe the Achilles is going to be, yep, he's going to be taken down, just caught out there by Reverb. And goodbye, Susano will pick up that kill, evening out our scoreboard. And that opens the door for the King's Knights to take down the Primal Fury, give them an advantage here in game number 2.
They are currently about 2k gold down, but once they get this gold period, it'll quickly turn around. As we see Persephone in a lot of trouble, gets soloed by Reverb. Uncle Fable taking a spill through space and time will be the secure for that Primal Fury that the King's Knights so needed. And now they are all caught up in gold. King's Knights definitely not willing to lose this set at all.
Yeah, and the Susano managed to get away that teleport through the storm. One of those abilities where, one of those abilities where he just, doesn't really. You kind of go, oh, he's there and he's not there anymore. But Serb pushing that advantage. But it looks like the speed buff going to be dropped by the Cerberus, which means the Susano is not going to have it for the foreseeable future. As blue buff going to be picked up, everybody kind of going back to farming, pressure, and just seeing where the next one lies, as Fire Giant might be on the docket, as well as Pyromancer. But here we go. A little bit of the Greater Scorpion coming through, and that means that we'll have empowered blue and yellow buffs on the side of King's Knights. But nobody really stepping forward right now. No pressure here, as Ares is just going to put out the mid wave a little bit to try and help out Soul or the Giannis here, whoever does come down mid lane. But again, Persephone and Kepri heading over toward the right-hand side. You do see that the Pyromancer is up. It is available. Kepri dancing there. We've got some sentry wards coming out for the V-Catgirls. And the pings now coming out. They're telling their teammates group up. We have pings on the wards there. Let's get it moving, as Achilles looks like he's going to push down the left. And that means that with 4 members ganked, the King's Knights actually have the advantage over here in the right-hand jungle.
And they're going to use it immediately, already pulling out that Pyromancer. It's already fallen down to half HP, and now the Catgirls are going to have to try and get a re-engage here, as we see a lot of ultimate being burned. King's Knights will end up securing that Pyromancer, but they are getting a little bit low, as we see both Chuck and Ares ults coming out. Scarab's Blessing will end up saving the life of Sir Lankius, as through space and time, not quite on the mark, not able to get a kill, but now we do see the Achilles rotating in around the yellow buff. It's going to catch him off guard. He's going to be dishing out a lot of damage, and it will be Giannis who ends up falling. Lil Nino will be the first death in this next fight. Pyromancer was secured by King's Knights, but at the cost of their mid laner.
And now with the mid laner down, Lil Nino falling, I mean, that is a pretty serious problem. You don't have that type of secure, which means Fire Giant could be on the docket. In fact, it is for the V-Catgirls. A little bit of zoning happening by the Achilles and Serb. They do see the Chalk coming over. Nano trying to get into the back door, and they are going to drop in. Chalk going to do some damage And the ultimate's coming out. Catgirls have destroyed the fire giant. And here comes the follow-up fight. Susano popping the ultimate, as will the Persephone reverb. Gonna go down. Kragafro ends up getting another one. The triple kill onto Uncle Fable. Num Num's gonna go down too. And that is 4-4-2. As goodbye to the Chalk. Goodbye to the Susano. And there's the Penta. Kragafro gets the pentakill on the soul. The pings come out. The pressure is up. Let's get these towers down. As the full 5-man deicide, as the soul picks up her first her first pentakill. Kragafro picks up his first pentakill here in the QSL. Congrats to Kragafro on that play. But well done by the rest of the team. You see Ares' very little health bar there was instrumental in setting that up, as was Reverb on that Susano, getting both the Achilles and the Cerberus low enough for the soul to deal the damage effectively.
Kragafro was not happy about game number 1, and he came out swinging tonight in this game number 2. He told General Talia exactly how to get the pentakill. It wasn't delayed at all. It was true, it was bold, and it is official. Kragafro showing out just how powerful he really is. Definitely a lot more comfortable on this soul in the game number 2. He is not willing to go down quietly.
And now we see that that small advantage for V-Catgirls now becomes a advantage for the King's Knights. The Oni Fury, or sorry, Gold Fury popped up and will be started. Chalk, Soul, and Ares with Giannis in the background, just blowing through that one real quick. The ultimate by the Chalk will be expended, making sure that he manages to zone away the Achilles. And now Susano, in the midst of 4, will have to get out of there. V-Catgirls has destroyed Drugger. There's a Persephone ult that lands. Chalk's going to have to pop beads and run away. So does Ares. And now the team has to be on the ball, as here comes the soul. The disapparate Achilles does try to get the stun, can't get it out, and Ares and Chalk will be there. Cerberus does get a stun onto the Ares, but he takes it for the soul, which means no damage, no follow-up, and no kill pressure. Means that the disengage comes out from the V-Catgirls. And now, if you're V-Catgirls, what do you do?
They've certainly been in a good position most of this game, never really behind, even if they aren't necessarily ahead. And after that big spill they took after securing the fire giant, giving a pentakill to Craig, they're in a bad spot. They're losing the hold on the lead that they had. King's Knights starting to take the driver's seat. Now they got to be a lot more careful with their engages. They are able to pump out lots of damage, but Reverb and Kragafro are pumping out just as much, if not more.
Yeah, we definitely see from the King's Knights before it was a lot of individual play, the skill coming out, trying to get the pressure, working through kills, getting the picks. Now we see smart rotations coming through. Jablanque under pressure. They realize here's the problem. He was the problem in game 1. He is not going to be the problem in game 2. We are not going to let him get away from us. And the King's Knights with the pick onto General Telia will also get the tier tower. Little bit of a blink there, as Persephone is going to be able to get through the door without issue. Chalk, just being that tanky boy that he is, will get out. Good ultimate by the Persephone. Will blow some beads as the Giannis will get away. The execute coming through, shutdown onto Kragafro and King Kreb. The return kills by the V-Catgirls mean that they get to relieve a little bit of pressure, but still not enough to turn the full tide of the game. Again, a couple of picks that they needed, a couple of picks that they wanted, but maybe not enough to turn everything around. Pyromancer, that is an objective they can definitely take.
And especially with the fire giant getting ready to spawn, the V-Catgirls are definitely going to be in a much more comfortable situation for this next fight. they're going to have the situational awareness. They're going to have the space, and the wards are going to be down first and foremost. They're going to be able to start the pull right as the final members of the King's Knights are going to be spawning, and they are going to be right on top of it as quickly as possible. Namnams is under half HP, so he is going to have to be careful, but they're starting up the Fire Giant pull immediately. But Shock, showing no fear, dropping in with an ultimate almost immediately. He's going to be forcing them to drop that Fire Giant and opt for a little bit more safe pull onto the Pyromancer, since they're not going to be able to take the Fire Giant just yet.
I mean, to be honest, though, that was quite smart. They pull the Fire Giant, they look for the fight, they do get the ultimate out of the chalk. It does allow for the King's Knights to respawn, maybe push a little bit harder here, as Serb might get caught out here. As the pull by Susano, the jump coming out, the dash by the chalk, the Stygian Torment coming through, but it's not going to pull anybody, and now we have another ultimate balloon. So the ultimate advantage that the King's Knights gave up is now back in their court, as Nelson will get his ultimate back first. And as we look around, V-Catgirls here, they had a positioning advantage, they had a numbers advantage, they had an ultimates advantage. In 30 seconds, it's all gone.
Definitely not a great feeling, as we see a huge four-man chain no escape coming out from Ares King Kreb, getting out a lot of value out of that, but unfortunately it won't be enough. Most of the members of Catgirls are able to get out, and Namnams will end up picking up a kill as King Kreb finds the return on the slash face partner, and it will be a huge amount of damage coming out from Craig Afro. We will see a lot of damage being traded out on both sides, as now the King's Knights is forced to back out, as well as the Catgirls, all of them super low on HP. They can't afford to take another engagement, or they could risk getting decided again.
A 1-for-1, the jungler for the support. We see Khepri going down, but also the big issue is the Khepri is only level 16. The Susano is level 20, and that's a longer death timer. So now we do see that the 5-man ability is going to come back from the Catgirls. They will have about a 10-second advantage here now, getting the full lineup back. But we have a Persephone at 5, 2, and 3, the Achilles at 4, 3, and 6. But when you look at the other side, I mean, you see a giant 7 there. Oh, Stygian Torment's going to come out. The big hit there. And the V-Catgirls will get the Fire Giant buff. The Chalk just is able to teleport out of the Achilles execute, and will also heal up out of the execute range. So no kills coming through, but a big secure, as Lil Nino did drop there. The Giannis going to fall. 1 kill, and the Fire Giant going over to the V-Catgirls. That, however, could turn a game.
Lil Nino wanted to support lineman Nelson in their defense of the Fire Giant, just trying to show face, but unfortunately he chose the wrong path, coming in from the mid side on the bottom right hand corner of the 4 corners. He came in, got vibe checked down right, and is now sent back to the Grayscale Fountain once more to think about his pathing.
Yep, and even though we do see an advantage by the King Knights in kills, 13-12, Catgirls have the advantage in gold. They have a slight advantage in XP, and their builds are definitely a little bit further along. But we see that enhanced Fire Giant buff. V-Catgirls running down one more time. They take the tier 2 tower. They even up the tower count, but it looks like they are also going to get this Phoenix over in left. Well, I said looks like they already have it, as the Ares will pull. Doesn't get anybody. Cerberus will get out. The Persephone ult hits the Susano. I guess Uncle Fable heard me from previously, and has been popping off on the ults with this Persephone ever since about, I'd say, about 18 minutes, 22 minutes into this game. 32 and a quarter now, as the tier 2 mid tower will fall down. The 5-man death ball has begun. Persephone will back away. Well, tried to back away with the lazy back, but instead, a little bit of damage from the Susano forces her to rejoin the team. The tier 2 will fall in right, and now pressure is on to see if they can grab another Phoenix, but it looks like they're content with their damage, and they are going to call it good, and they will back away slowly.
And one thing I gotta note, just like I said earlier in game number 1, the second you say Fable can't, he does. It doesn't matter what it is, no matter what we're talking about. We said he might have a little bit of trouble since I said the King's Knights draft was what I favored in game 1. He came out, balls to the walls, fragged out game number 1. Now in game 2, you said he was having a little bit of trouble landing those Persephone ultimates, and now he's hitting pretty much every single one right on the nose, trapping somebody in the middle of lane, which is not a very fun place to be stuck at.
Yeah, we see now that the Fire Giant respawns about a minute 40, as Primal Fury does go down in favor of the King's Knights. So the V-Catgirls, that buff is going to wear off of them rather quickly, probably the next 30 seconds or so. But now, as we look at it, V-Catgirls, King's Knights, very, very even, about a 5, almost 6k gold difference now. Yes, we're at a 6k gold difference for the Catgirls. That is going to push the boundaries as we see red pots being bought by the likes of General Talia, and that Jablanque is gonna start swinging.
That Xbalanque has been an absolute damage machine both of these games. He had a little bit more trouble in this game number 2, especially compared to the game number 1, where he was double the damage of anybody on King's Knights. But now, he's certainly still climbing right back up to the top. He is not all that far behind his teammate Uncle Fable, who does have a lead of about 7k player damage. That is nothing to an ADC like him. He can absolutely single-handedly pump that damage out, but all he really needs to do is just take out that Phoenix. And they don't
This
have
Achilles could have been caught out. As we do see damage coming through, he does drop to about 2/3 of his health, but that opens up the door. And Chalk will get the silence, the Ares with the pull. That's going to be a lot of beads. Chalk will get hit by the Persephone ultimate. Craig Afro drop in the back line as the Achilles gets the execute off, and now here comes the Persephone damage. Wow, the bird going to be the target here, and that is Phoenix down. Not Phoenix Dawn, but Phoenix down. And now here comes the pressure onto the Titan. The Susano is going to pick up Achilles in the back line over by the mid Phoenix. But that Titan is down to half health already. And Jablanque tossing the bolo. He is hitting on all cylinders. The Aegis will be Cerberus getting low. Giannis coming through. That is a very, very low 3-headed dog. But that is a lot of damage. The fire minions there from the left, it could be the Winions. We're gonna see they do have to retreat. And it just survives. It just survives. The Titan has barely any health. Fire minions in left, fire minions coming in right, and Fire Giant has respawned. 18k health on that Fire Giant, and it looks like the 5 in Death Ball going right for EFG, and one more good push ought to do it.
And especially since they do have those fire minions pushing in on the Duoside Phoenix one more time, V-Catgirls have all the pressure in the world. King's Knights can't leave Titan alone for more than just a couple seconds at a time. The minions already taking down the Phoenix, and the Catgirls already destroying the EFG. They are now pushing to end this game. They have all the pressure in the world. They have 2 Phoenixes down. Titan sitting less than a quarter HP. They've got a massive buff around their belt, and they are in the driver's seat of this game number 2. They are pushing pedal to the metal straight down to the Titan's lair. Red, do me the honor of closing us out.
Here we go, 5v5, make it 5v4 as Reverb goes down, the Blink comes in, Achilles gets the push, gets the execute, the Aegis comes out, the Titan is under attack, and it will drop the Chalk in the cage. can only sit and watch as the Titan falls to pieces, and that'll be all she wrote for game number two. The game, the set, the match goes to the V-Catgirls. Congratulations, they 2-0 the King's Court Knight.
After that
Here,
game number two, we saw a big turnaround multiple times from both teams. And overall, I have to say, it has got to be one of the most exciting casts I think I've had in a while. Game number one was a little bit of a runaway victory for the Catgirls, but this game number two was down to the wire until the very last minute.
yeah, and as we see damage numbers coming out, Uncle Fail 35k, General Talia with 28. So Uncle Fable said, "You know what, General? I'll let you get the 21 in the first, but now it's my turn to shine." 6, 2, and 3 on the Persephone, 2, 3, and 8 on the Jablanca. But there's some damage numbers from Craig Afro, especially 24,500 player damage, 23, almost 24 from Reverb as well. Doing work on both sides, but only one team can come out ahead. And tonight, that's the V-Catgirls. Jeering, who is your MVP for game number one, game number two, and the set tonight? Who do you like?
Game number one, I'm going to have to go ahead and give the MVP to General Talia. Getting that delayed pentakill, I think without a doubt, is overall one of, if not the biggest achievements for your team in any given specific game. It's hard to top that. Craig Afro coming in with a true penta of his own in this game number two. He was the head of his team's defense, the center of their damage, Reverb, coming in pretty dang close to his damage numbers and definitely not to be ignored. But I think it goes without saying that my overall set MVP is going to have to go to Uncle Fable. Both games, he owned the mid lane like a true mid laner. He showed exactly how it was to be played. He picked up the Giannis game 1, was just on point with the damage, shredding through everybody's HP bars. Game number 2 picks up the Persephone, says, "Here, I'll show you how to play it." Has the highest damage in the lobby with 35k player damage. He absolutely ran away with it. And his ultimates trapping people, forcing beads left and right, keeping them in place for so long. It was just free setup for the rest of his team, where even if he's not even in range to touch them, the rest of his team did everything that they could to bring them down. And it was all they needed.
Absolutely. And you know what? Congratulations, both teams, for a well fought game number two. That was amazing to watch. General Talia, well done on the delayed penta. Craig Afro, congratulations on the true penta. Uncle Fable, insane amounts of damage. Just well played by the V-Catgirls for the victory. And hopefully, we'll be back with one of the V-Catgirls with an interview. If not, have a good night. But again, hopefully, we'll just have a little intermission here, a little bit of wrap up afterwards, and we will see you right back here on the QSL in a little bit.
Hello
And
and
we
welcome
are
back, everybody.
back. Oh, go ahead,
Sorry,
Jerry.
sorry, Red. Sorry, Red. You can take it.
All right. And we are back with the famed Uncle Fibble, mid laner for the V-Catgirls here on coming off of a stellar performance. First off of a Giannis play that was quite well done, and then leading all players in damage in the lobby for game number two. We have a Persephone that just rose from the dead multiple times on this one. Um, so Uncle Fable, first of all, how do you feel after such a victory, a 2-0 stomping to some people, but at least game two looked like it was a little bit of work for you guys.
Oh, game two was definitely work. We felt really good about it. We were all pretty hyped up in the end game for that game two. But really happy with the team. They did really really well. Just wish my jungler had a little bit more to do. I got to give him a hard time.
Well, Chargers, mm, if they'd actually show up on time, they might actually be effective in a game, but you never know. Um,
Such as the
not
life of
bad,
junglers get blamed.
Yeah, it's always
man,
the jungle's fault.
he only had 21k damage on an Achilles. I mean, seriously, get with the program, man. 6 kills,
Yeah.
man. But no, Nem's did absolutely wonderful as well. Even going so far as getting the respect ban in game number two from the Tsukiyomi. Um, but as you were going from the Giannis into the Persephone, you played against a Persephone in game
Mhm.
one. Um, in game two, was it sort of a you know, what you can do, I can do better kind of thing, or did you see it just as this is definitely the burst damage mage that I think is more effective at this point?
Um, yeah, I mean, I wanted something really safe, and um, ever since I started whipping out Persephone and QSL, we haven't lost, so we figured we'd give it a shot again. I wasn't able to play the first game, was kind of upset about it, but it is what it is.
It will be what it will be. But you
Exactly.
certainly did more than a fine job for yourself. Both of these games, absolutely running up the mid lane and taking the driver's seat away from Lil Nino. What is the overall attitude that you and the rest of your team have had and are going to move forward with concerning the state of your team?
Uh, we did a little bit of a change up this game, switching Noms out of his support and throwing Ross over there just to kind of see how things would go. Um, I mean, every game I kind of tell the guys I'll see you at level 20 kind of a thing. I'm not going over there unless I know I can get something out of it. And I think we're just going to keep that mentality when we have that gold lead coming into the mid game. We just do really really well. So I think we're just going to keep on that. It's been working out really well for us so far.
Now we did see, especially in game one, where individually you guys were fighting pretty even. I know General Talia was actually a little bit behind at the beginning of game number one, but
Mhm.
once the rotation out, once the 5-man kind of grew up, um, do you guys feel much more comfortable as a 5-man group or a 3-man group, something like that, rather than individual play? Do you think that's where your strength lies, or is it just kind of, that's where it just kind of gelled?
Um, I mean, for where we're at in the season, I feel like our team fight is a lot better than I expected it to be. So when we started getting into the team fight stage and grouping up, we just felt really good. So we just kind of held off on trying to make these big solo plays and these two or three mans, and just really wanted to wait out until those team fights to make everything happen.
Hmm.
We were pushing so far ahead in the levels in gold through ADC mid, and I think solo that we just had the level 20 advantage and the starters upgraded, and it worked out really well.
Excellent. So, anything else you'd like to say at this point before we kind of wrap up here? Maybe general feelings, how you think the season's going to go, or maybe a shout out to at least someone who maybe helped you get this victory.
Big shout out to the team. We did have less than desirable scrim beforehand, but we bounced back pretty well. I'm really happy with how the team's going. Shout out to the delayed penta. That was pretty hype, and also for the actual penta in that game, that was also really hype.
Excellent. Well done tonight. Thank you so much for putting on such an entertaining show for us.
Yeah,
And
we'll work on keeping it and
congratulations.
making it happen.
There you go. And congratulations on the 2-0 victory. Well done to you and your team, especially on a against a tough Kings Knights side. So congratulations and have a good night.
Thanks, y'all.
And for those of you who are watching, I have been Red Sniper 3. Joining me was Jeering Lamb. Thank you guys so much. Have a good night. We will see you on the next broadcast of the Quacken Smite League. This has been Red Sniper 23. On camera tonight was Neptune. Have a good night, everyone.
And don't forget to place your wards. Cough, cough, fable.
Never.